Good afternoon, one and all. I'm Neha Fatima, host for the track session Rapid Ransomware Response Capabilities, Drills, Playbook, Ecosystem, and Support. Ransomware is a unique threat that has evolved petty crimes to a major economic windfall for global criminal enterprises. Ransomware has always made it to the headlines. With that in mind, I would like to invite the panelists to share the experience with us. I would like to invite our moderator, Manikant Singh, CISO DMI Finance, on the stage. Our next panelist in the group is Ms. Supriya Panja, VP, Head of Technology, Control Assurance, and Regulatory Engagement, State Street. Mr. Sabyasachi Dal, VP, Wells Fargo. And Mr. Venkat Ramshet, co-founder, Flexible IR. I would now hand over the stage to moderator, Mr. Manikant Singh.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manikant, as told by Neha. Every now and then we keep hearing about an attack which can really be state-sponsored or an individual organization which tries to take over through a ransomware attack. We are all aware that ransomware can pull down bigger economies, countries also. In the recent past, there has been a lot of statistics talking about how ransomware is being developed through even chat GPTs. So LLMs and other generative programs are also trained to generate ransomware attack. Today, we have esteemed panelists who will share their views and from their individual perspective about how we can ensure or probably protect against the ransomware attack. So first of all, I would like to ask this question about, in fact, this question goes to anyone. I would like to understand, or the audience would like to understand about the current threat landscape and how ransomware is, how the current landscape is more vulnerable to the ransomware attacks. Anyone can take this.
Well, so let me start, and I would like to share some of the statistics about ransomware attack. So, why there are so many attacks and exploits in cybersecurity? So why we are discussing about ransomware attack and why the organizations are worried about the ransomware attack? Right. So we started seeing the earlier variant of ransomware attack in the year 2013 and 14, and in the last 4-5 years, the number of attacks has significantly increased, and there are so many ransomware groups who started offering ransomware as a service. So attacker don't have to write code. They can simply opt the service and can target any organization, right? And if we see some of the statistics, so in 2021, there were around 623 million ransomware attacks. Last year, there were 493 million ransomware attacks. And if we see the statistics for this year, again, the number of attacks in Q2 is comparatively on a higher side than last year. So definitely the number of attacks has significantly increased, and the attackers are using new technologies and to attack the organization. So it is again challenging. So 27% of the organizations reported they were not ready to handle the ransomware attack, especially the mid-size and the small-size organizations. They don't have adequate security controls in place. And if we talk about the startup, their focus is again more towards product development and product functionality, minimal focus towards security. And if we talk about the solution, again, it is complex, and we need security at different level. And to handle ransomware attack, we have to follow the defense in-depth approach. Yep.
I can probably go next. So this threat landscape is constantly evolving, and he mentioned about the statistics, right? Ransomware attacks are in million and increasing at a very alarming rate, right? So let me start with this. Probably one of the challenges that we are seeing is the pace at which the technology is evolving, which is great, right? But hackers are getting more innovative. They are constantly, working towards, manipulating the code, signature, algorithm, right? They are constantly evolving their strategies to break into the system, making it all the more difficult for an organization to kind of keep up to those techniques. Then these, traditional antivirus, anti-malware solution may also, struggle to keep up to that pace. These hackers are improvising the way they are targeting, systems, organizations, right? And we get to hear something new on a daily basis, some unique way where someone may have been spammed or even phished, right? So it is important for an organization to, build that awareness, but the challenge still remains because in spite of having so much, right, going on within the organization, some still fall prey to these attacks, right? The other challenge that an organization may face while implementing controls rapidly to address these ransomware attacks is lack of awareness and understanding. So they may not be able to fully comprehend the severity and potential threats, threats of these attacks, and that can often lead to complacency in implementing controls. And then, limited resource, budget constraints can also hinder organizations' ability to basically, establish controls because it could mean investments, right? Be it cybersecurity solutions or hiring some skilled professionals or even assessing those controls on a periodic basis, right? And that can actually, take a lot of time. I'll probably conclude this with one last point is around, the time it takes to follow protocol. So if a ransomware attack happens, right, the time it takes to identify the infected systems, then gathering necessary information, taking appropriate actions after obtaining all necessary approvals can actually give ample time to those hackers to propagate and cause more damage, especially in large network and organization with limited resources.
So first is thank you very much for a post-lunch session, and we'll all ensure it's more participative and interesting. First thing is, if you look at from the ransomware perspective, from the landscape perspective, today even a 8th standard kid or an 8-year-old kid can actually go to a marketplace, buy a ransomware, probably, as I was mentioning, it's all about ransomware as a service, right? So it's a marketplace, the way we buy our clothes. You can buy a service and deploy it. I mean, it could become so simple for someone to do a ransomware attack. Second thing is, if you look at the way the political changes are happening, right? If you look from India's perspective, it's a quad. The quad of India, Japan, Australia, and US. So see, there's a lot of changes happening here. It's a quad is getting together. There are a lot of other rivalry or other countries which would be targeting us, right? So a ransomware attack today could be a much more possibility because of these capabilities. Like if you look at the geopolitical scenario, you may possibly not be targeted, but you could be collateral damages. So every company could be impacted at any point of time. So that's where this session is all about, the challenges of how do we respond to ransomware attacks and what is the landscape. That's one of the key things. But team, please know that all of you, you never know when this is going to happen to each of our organizations. Important to have the right blueprints ready.
Great. Thanks, obviously, talking about the trends, the kind of complexity and the increase in ransomware attacks. And while Supriya, you talked about the controls in place and budget constraints, resources constraints, and he talked about the threats, the landscape. While many of us must have read about this, when the hackers, they are more collaborative, while the CISOs or the people who are sitting behind the firewall, they don't collaborate. Why so? So same is with the ransomware. When there is a ransomware incident, there is always chaos. What to do, when to do. So I just want to understand from all of you or anyone your perspective about how do you handle a ransomware incident efficiently and effectively.
Sorry. So I come from a banking industry, right? And the need to have a robust ransomware resiliency program is quite demanding, especially from regulators. And I think as a banking organization, we should have zero tolerance attitude towards such attacks. While it is difficult to achieve 100% security, right? But if we follow the right kind of practices, right, it will definitely reduce the impact to a great extent. Now, ransomware response plan is an underused tool, right? But I would say it is still vital to have one. Sorry about that. It is extremely vital to have one, right? And I think any type of incident response planning tool of any kind is a security win by itself, and I hope none of you have to ever use it, right? So as an organization, we started one step at a time. So let me start with this, right? Having policies and procedures dedicated to ransomware, right? So if an attack happens, how we as an organization would be responding to such attacks, right? In terms of, detection, prevention, response, and recovery. So our policy could be something like, our system should be securely configured, or we should have strong access controls, or employee awareness, or it could also mean, data backup and recovery, right? Just think about it. If we have policies, right, it becomes easier for us to establish governance. Otherwise, we'll constantly experience that pushback from our stakeholders, and I'm talking from my personal experience, by the way. This then leads us to, implementing necessary controls and have them documented. Because if we have them documented, business are obliged to follow and assess those controls on a periodic manner. And that will also give a lot of confidence to our regulators, on our preparedness. The other thing that I can think of is, obtaining information from every business on different tools and applications that they are using, ensure that they are also recorded, depending on whatever system of record each organizations are using, because that helps us, determine or, classify those assets, and we exactly know what we are trying to protect against ransomware. The other thing is, of course, everybody is going to cover about this, is, rehearse and test your incident response plan on a periodic manner, because that, I think, is, one of the very, very important tools to assess the current state, right? And then, of course, from a training standpoint, educate your employees, right, so that they exactly know how to respond to an attack. It could be, making things available like quick links, or it could be also, some posters, right? And have KPIs around it, right? For example, if an employee has taken this training, they must clear those assessments, post-assessments, right? Within certain number of attempts if they want to qualify as an active employee. This actually works. And trust me, nobody is going to kind of fail there, because instead of just treating it as a checkbox exercise, they will actually treat this with utmost importance and focus. And probably I'll conclude this with one last point, which is actually working, right? That is, have a committee formed, have representatives from different functions, because that will give great opportunity for them to kind of collaborate with each other, like legal interacting with IT, IT with business, business with legal, and so on, right? And discuss about, what are current challenges, what are certain security measures which is being practiced, working well, look for opportunities to integrate or, centralize certain efforts, right? This actually works. Otherwise, we often see that team members or other different teams works in silos, and later at some point of time they realize, okay, these efforts have gone for duplicate. And if something doesn't work well, right, it becomes a blame game situation.
And thanks for your perspective. What you said was very interesting about defining a committee is very important. Having people, ensuring that people pass a kind of a evaluation, which ensures that your resiliency is better. Now that takes me to a different question. Uh, every organization now starts developing, drills, business continuity programs and playbooks. I would like to hear from Venkat. Uh, how is this all these playbooks and drills helping organization at least to prevent at the first level, from your perspective?
So, see, I've been handling incidents on a day-to-day basis. Even now, as we talk, right, we get clients talking to us telling we are under attack. So, I'll be sharing some of the best practices that we have seen. All of these things I'll be communicating in terms of three. Team, please, all of you note that I wanted to take away at this end of this session key messages, right? That's important for us. Three key things which will bring you cyber resiliency are clear IR plans. The IR plans is the first one you need to have. The second one are the playbooks. Playbooks are nothing but simple step-by-step instructions on how to conduct your investigation and how to respond. The third is, even if you have playbooks, you need to do your drills. If you practice your drills over tabletops, you get better at it. So again, the 3-point formula that we see works is have your IR plans, have your playbooks, do drills over them or tabletops over them. At the same time, again, there's 3 more things that's very important. See, today, in fact, one of the questions that we asked was, what do you do immediately if there is a ransomware attack? Just to add to this, you need to have a lot more. Please see the context here today, sir. The context here is, if an attack happens, now who is going to get to the outside world, right? The Twitter feeds keep coming out. See, today, if you look at August 23rd, the way world response is different. It's not like previous, like it's going to be, the messages are going to come out on Twitter faster than you expect. If there's an attack, for example, now it's 2:45, probably around 2:50 or 2:55 now. If an attack happens at 2:55, let's take this as a timestamp. So if an attack happens at 2:55, 3 o'clock the news is out on Twitter or probably some other social media channel, right? But the problem is, how do we control the narrative? So you need playbooks to control the narrative in such a way that you control what goes out. It should not be the media controls. So the speed of response is important. So playbooks, so IR plans, playbooks, drills, at the same time, the speed to respond. You don't have long times. I mean, your time to respond is short. It's okay if you respond to the world telling that, okay, we are investigating, this attack has happened. But you need to control your narratives. So it's an age where response, the ransomware response or any response has to be at speed, right? So this is the 3-point formula. Followed by that, there's a lot more things which I'll keep on discussing over the course of our panel. Please take down these 3 points, and at the end of it, all of you will have a blueprint of ransomware response, which probably you as a team could propagate to the other larger teams.
Great. So the 3-step or the 3-stage one was very interesting to understand. I would like to ask from Sabyachi, like, what are the tools and technologies which is available today to effectively contain and contain ransomware attack and efficiently handle?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'll say when it comes to ransomware, there is no one-stop solution. So we have to ensure security at different levels by leveraging the latest tools and technologies, and thereby we have to tailor the solution based on our organization's need. Unfortunately, Q2 of this year was again very successful for ransomware groups, and more than 70% of the attacks were targeted through email, phishing email, and email attachments. So we have to ensure strong security control for email infrastructure by using strong password, email encryption. Organizations should use softwares to scan the inbound email and block the email with malicious traffic. And I'll say when it comes to cloud, CASB solutions comes handy to identify and remediate the abnormal activities. we also have to ensure the peripheral security controls are configured based on least privilege model. Our IDS IPS solution should have up-to-date signatures to detect and prevent the malicious traffic. The proxy also plays a very important role. We have to ensure our endpoint are connecting to internet through proxy, which again does content filtering and block the malicious and phishing websites. It is recommended to block the websites which are not yet categorized by our proxy vendor, because most of the time the attacker hosts new website to launch the attack. Again, there are multiple ways through which the ransomware malware can be deployed into endpoints. So it's good to have strong antivirus and EDR solution in place to detect and to remediate the malwares and the infected files. So now to talk about the recovery. So we have to ensure we have a good backup process in place to minimize the data loss in case of any attack. I'll say frequent, incremental, and differential backup. And the full backup, again, can be configured once in a week or more frequently based on the organization's need and the criticality of data. When it comes to, again, ransomware attack, so I'll say compared to online backup, the offline backup and immutable backup is more useful. Because the offline backup are disconnected from the network, hence the malware will not be able to spread to our backup data. And immutable backup are again write protected, so the ransomware attacker will not be able to alter or delete those backup data, right? So if we talk about tools and technologies, this is again endless. I mean, we have so many tools and technologies in place. But what we have to understand is what is required for our organization, how our landscape looks like, right? And I'll conclude with this. So these solutions will be effective if we have a good governance around user awareness and the trainings.
That's a good one. What you said was about training and awareness. We keep telling people about awareness and training, but still every day morning when you open your newspaper, you'll see some person has lost millions of rupees, some lakhs of rupees by a wrong click, by a phishing attack, or a smishing attack. So that brings us to a different perspective about you may spend millions of rupees in evaluating best of the product to evaluate and bring people to the best of the evaluation, and before onboarding you give them training, still people click the wrong link and you are prone to attacks. So Supriya, I want to know from your perspective, how do you ensure training and awareness helps in handling ransomware attack?
Sure. So I think educating employees is one of the best ways to avert any types of attack or potential threats, right? Employee awareness program actually helps keep cybersecurity at the forefront of their mind and help them become more alert towards those threats. And these trainings should typically be very, very focused, right? It should focus on latest threat landscape, right? Best practices and how an employee should be responding to different types of attack, right? So in our organization, I'll give you one example. In our organization, we have a team within cybersecurity who is dedicated to these trainings and awareness. So they conduct, awareness training on a monthly basis, and they talk about, all latest cybersecurity threats and then best practices and things like that. This team also conducts campaigns, road shows, they circulate newsletters. In fact, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about one of the initiatives that I was leading last year. So the intent of this initiative was to change people's heart and mind, because you would agree that risk is often perceived as an hindrance than an enabler. And this initiative actually helped us clear that myth. So we were actually running this through a YAML channel, and the results were phenomenal. We had more than 300 subscribers, employees subscribing to our channel in less than 3 months. So I had a working group, of course, with all creative minds, right? So what we did differently was with regards to the content. So we made our contents very unique, very interesting, engaging. We used catchy lines. We ran some polls, quizzes, leagues, and then photography contest, and even comic-based storytelling with one common theme, and that was risk and controls. We also conducted several lunch and learn, right? And again, the turnout was really encouraging and positive. So I think that every organization can think what works best for them, and they can do something even beyond the regular learning curriculum, which they have more control on.
And do you feel that rewarding people for
We
awareness?
did that. Yes, very important point. We in fact did
And
that.
do you have a matrix to ensure that the rewarding matrix helps people in protecting?
I don't have the metrics readily available, but I have definitely seen the participation does increase if you have, these some sort of carrots going out, right? Because they'll always have this, what's in it for me kind of attitude.
I'm curious to know from you, Venkat, especially training awareness is probably one of your expertise. Can you just throw some light about how awareness training helps the organizations?
Yeah. So we have been regularly doing training programs all across the country for ransomware response. So again, going back to the 3-point formula, right? See, we found a very structured way of getting someone to respond to ransomware attack. Again, this is for the companies also. So first thing is, when we talk to a team, when we want to bring in the awareness, we look from two perspectives. One is from the technical perspective, the other one is from the executive perspective, right? See, for example, if it's a management team, we want to ensure they are able to communicate well, they are able to lead well, they are able to decide well, right? It's all about communication part primarily. So what we do is we walk through a 3-point program, which is 3 case studies. We walk through 3 case studies over a period of 2 days, telling them, okay, on day 1, this is a case study. For example, Media Assist, this went well for them. What went well, what didn't go through well for them. So we take one more case study. So 3 case studies kind of gives some kind of a clarity telling, okay, how a company probably in our sector or a different sector responded. So 3 case studies followed by 3 scenarios. So we tell them now, if a live scenario happens to you at say example now it's 3.5. At 3.5, 2 of your systems are encrypted and they're showing a ransomware note. What will you do? So that's an actual ransomware response that you do. So that's a live case where the team handles and gets familiar with it. Again, the second scenario would be slightly complex one where your backups are gone or encryption has happened. Third case would be a little bit more complex, where we keep on covering complex, most impossible scenarios of ransomware attacks. So 3 case studies, 3 scenarios, and tabletops done over them brings in quite a lot of preparedness. So this is what our observations are. At the same time, it's important that as a part of the training and awareness program, you also need to understand from the adversarial mindset. See, today, if you look at the audience here, right, you need to start looking from the adversarial thought process. Like, you need to know, okay, this particular ransomware family has impacted this particular sector. Maybe I'm in the fintech, one of the banks got impacted with this particular ransomware family. I might be impacted. So that kind of thought process has to get in. Like, it has to be a second nature to learn about this. Okay, now a Conti ransomware attack has happened. Now there's a Lockbit. There is this particular family of from this particular country is quite active. So that kind of a thought process of being prepared is important. Ransomware attack is not easy. It has to be instinctive. It has to be second nature to respond. You cannot tell I'll do one drill at one day and tell I'm prepared. It has to be a journey of close to 6 months or a year's time where you get prepared for it. It's a journey, actually. It's a long journey.
Great. A few days back, I heard from one of a manufacturing company in Bangalore where they were attacked by a ransomware, and within 10 minutes they were normal, they were resilient. Now, that takes a lot of time and energy, right from an approval for a budget, especially training and awareness and multiple drills. But tell me one thing from again to goes to Venkat. These happens at the lower level, at a manager level, or from a supervisor level. What happens to the board? Are the board members still very keen to understand about the complexities of ransomware and whether they are trying to impart or especially approve budgets, especially since you are coming from a product side, I want to see whether they are investing their funds on this type of products.
Lovely questions. Today, I mean, if you look at the board, right, at the board, at the CEO, the first question they ask is, are we prepared, right? That's, are we prepared? And in case you are under attack, how long will it come back to, what's the time it will take for me to come back to normalcy, right? These are the typical things that we observe on a day-to-day basis. Definitely the boards are getting familiar today. Like, if you look at the CEO level, the board level, they are familiar because their counterparts are getting impacted. So the counterparts impacted itself is an initiation. So today, cyber resiliency is no more a topic at the security teams level, right? It's more at a board's level. The risk is very high. The boards need to be prepared. The management team needs to be prepared. Now, the second question is, what do they do? Right? One is, see, the entire thing, again, bringing into 3-point problem here, right? Or a formula. You need to divide your program into 3 points. One is a pre-crisis phase, during crisis, and post-crisis. So pre-crisis phase, a lot of things, at least the boards go through tabletops. During the crisis, as we were discussing, it's all about budget allocation, right? How do you allocate quick budgets? You need to probably get in third-party experts. You need to bring in more resources. At the same time, you need to align with your insurance. So this entire response of ransomware is complex. It's not easy. You need to bring, it's a community, right? See, that's the reason when we work with large companies, we don't even call it as a ransomware crisis first. It typically starts off with an event. Event becomes a potential incident. Potential incident becomes a big crisis. So that's where the evolution happens. And the bigger observation is, today the CEO is someone who goes to the forefront. He has to go to the media and talk to the media, right? I mean, that's where the challenges lie. So that's the reason the board and the management levels are prepared. They are ready to cooperate. The bigger challenge probably the CISOs face today is, in fact, the biggest challenge they face is the communication part. How do they communicate and convince the board that we need this kind of budget? See, how do they talk in the language of the board, right? See, that's where today, there's a lot of sessions happening around how the CISO starts communicating the language of business. If I go to, for example, a CEO and tell him, okay, now we had a phishing attack, followed by that there was a DDoS attack, followed by a ransomware attack, he's not going to understand it, right? We need to bring it down. The communication has to be in the terms or the language of the CISO. The language of the CEO, the language of the CFO. So that's where what we are seeing is the boards and CEOs are definitely willing to support. At the same time, they want their language to be spoken. So that's the gap currently everyone are building. The CISOs are getting trained. We actually train a lot of CEOs, a lot of CISOs on exactly how to communicate, right? How do they convince the board and using their language?
Very interesting. Next, very soon I should ask DSI to organize one more panel with you and speaking the language of the board. It's very important because
we do a 2-day workshop just to carve out the communication that happens between the CISO and the CEOs.
Excellent. So while we have spoken about many trends, and I would like to hear from any of you about what is the future, what are the future trends, how are we going to handle, how effectively are we going to manage them, and whether we are prepared. I'm again asking a board question. How do you ensure the organization is prepared?
Yeah. So let me start, and then maybe you can join. So in order to ensure the effectiveness, we have to continuously improvise the security controls based on the outcomes from our simulation exercise. I'll say conduct more simulation exercise to validate the playbook and the incident response plan. restore the data from the backup files to see the backup is configured and as it is expected, and there is minimal data loss when we are restoring the data using backup files. Restore the infrastructure using the infrastructure as a code and ensure the infrastructure as a code is working as expected. Instead of completely relying on the vendor solution, try to understand your environment and come up with some of the custom solutions. Think of a hybrid cloud model. Try to export your data and application from one cloud vendor and try to restore it in another vendor, see if things are working over there. And lastly, I will again say that ensure the security at different levels. So we were discussing about, during the break that how you ensure, how you make the drills more real. Would you like to say something on this?
So again, team, all of you, again, the 3-point formula, have your IR playbooks, so IR plans, playbooks, and drills ready. Most important is, I'll be sharing a few learnings which we had when we conducted our programs. We used to tell everyone, now if on a Monday, assume next Monday, right? Next Monday at 3 o'clock, if there's a ransomware attack, what will you do? See, that's what we started last year. And we found that, see, these kind of tabletops and drills are not going to be effective, right? In case you want to really be prepared, you need to have your clear frameworks up and ready. Clearly, the drills have to be real-time experiences. We start off with actual tabletops, which tells, please note now it's 3:15. 3:15, team, we are all sitting here, and these are our websites, and they are going down. And we show them, okay, the sites are going down. Now come respond to it. So it's going to be live ransomware responses is what works. So team has to work under panic, under the kind of pressures. That's where it's going to be a little bit better, you're better prepared. The second part, the most important, but the second part is, have all the frameworks prepared. Have your blueprints ready. You cannot prepare anything over when the attack happens. The blueprints, again, would be all your fundamental things.
Great. So we had a good discussion about understanding about the ransomware incident attack. So while I would like to conclude, we all know ransomware is going to be more the kind of complexity, the attack is going to be more complex in the future also. So there is as he said, simple formula, a 3-stage formula. Somewhere I read it is just like RRR, you need to have a PPP, people, process, and playbooks. That's how you ensure you are defending your organization from a ransomware attack. Just like we keep hearing that during the pandemic time, we kept hearing infection. So there will be a lot of discussion about ransomware attack. Please do not worry. Every ransomware is not going to infect you. It is going to take a lot of time. Even the ransomware attacker does not want the business to go down. He wants to extract money. He wants to take money from you. Then you will ensure that your business is interrupted and it is not finally down. So he will try to make all those places where he can infect and you are not able to conduct the business. So the future takeaways you spoke about, and any 2-line, probably we are running short of time, any 1-liner about the final take and conclusion about how effectively you finally take it forward.
I know the time is ticking, I'll probably just keep a couple of lines, right? The first one, of course, have dedicated policy and procedures to ransomware. The other thing is make sure we test our response plan on a periodic basis. It is not recommended to wait till an attack happens to make those decisions when stress is high and every minute's count, because stress is only going to impact our decision-making ability. Then from training and training perspective, I've already covered, but what I want to remind everybody is do not forget to retrain staffs, right? Especially if they are dealing with customers, right? Another thing is if something like this happens, do not keep your customers in dark. you may want to investigate before breaking the news, because it is just a matter of time that they'll learn what's happening, either through a business disruption, being information stolen, or he has also mentioned, worst thing, this getting into national headlines, right? So keep them informed, right? Certain steps that you are taking to protect against those ransomware, and some of the actionable tips for them that will help them stay vigilant. The other point that I would like to share is do not investigate any ransomware attack by yourself. Involve, authorities, experts, right? Because you may feel that you are equipped to handle that attack, but every attack is different. So let's not underestimate that. And I'll conclude this with one last point: is please do not succumb to those demands, because let authorities take that decision, because you will often notice that they don't support paying ransom, right? Because this is only going to encourage, hackers to continue with their illegal spree.
Yeah, so since email is one of the most common source of ransomware attack, so I'll say a robust security control for email infrastructure, conduct more phishing exercise, users who are repetitively clicking on the phishing URL, tag them to appropriate trainings, more simulation exercise, continuously upgrade the playbook, and I'll conclude with follow defense in-depth model to minimize the impact of ransomware attack instead of completely avoiding it.
Quick takeaways: please be prepared. There's no one is going to be. See, it's called assume breach today, right? It's not going to be prevention. The world is today assume breach. Assume you will be breached anytime, anywhere, and typically attack happens when you don't want them, right? When you're probably in a family function, you're on a Sunday, you're in a party. That's when attacks happen. So be prepared. You don't know when attacks happen. At the same time, if you do not want panic, follow some of the blueprints. Get ready, be prepared, conduct drills. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, as a conclusion, I would like to say, in a zero trust network, there is a small signal, verify, verify, verify. In probably in a ransomware is be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. Thanks DSI for this wonderful opportunity and the panelists.
Thanks for the valuable insight. Hope this talk gave a fast-paced work how to contain and respond to a ransomware attack. Thanks, everyone.